everyone. Welcome to the Webcast for Thursday, May 8th. I'm South Ops meteorologist Jonathan O'Brien. Visible satellite this morning shows big changes versus the past several days, as the marine layer is much shallower and patchier this morning, with most of the region seeing sunshine already. Clearing of the remaining marine clouds will be rapid today, and we are going to be continuing our warming trend. Here's a look at the forecast highs for today. You can see it's a big step up, especially where it's been so unseasonably cool lately over Southern California. We'll see highs in the mid-80s to low 90s in the valleys and high desert today, with upper 60s and 70s across the lower mountains, and the low desert beginning to approach 100. And we are not done yet with this warming trend. Our weather in the coming days will be dominated by high pressure, a weak ridge built into California yesterday, behind that upper-level low that had plagued us with cool and wet weather early this week. And that ridge will be strengthening today, and especially the next couple of days, bringing what will be by far the warmest air of the season so far by Friday and Saturday. However, it will not be a long-lived warm-up. As you can see here, another unseasonably cold and deep trough will dig into California as early as late Sunday and especially early next week, bringing another dramatic change in the weather, this time in a colder direction. Nonetheless, the big story in the short term will be the heat. The hottest day overall will probably be Saturday, though the beaches may be a tick warmer on Friday. And these are impressive numbers for this time of year, near record highs in some cases. The valleys will be well into the 90s and even pushing 100 in the warmest spots, and the low deserts will be as warm as 105 to 110. We'll see a drying trend in the coming days as well. Minimum humidity will be mainly in the 12 to 25% range away from the coast today through Sunday, and single digits to low teens in the deserts. However, recoveries will mostly be fair to good, at least away from the deserts. With the high pressure centered overhead, winds will be light today through Saturday, with primarily local and terrain-driven winds, and gusts mainly 20 miles per hour or less. Saturday will see a slight uptick in southwesterly general flow. Like I mentioned, this will be a short-lived warm-up, and by early next week we'll be going back into a drearier pattern. However, during that transition period, we'll need to pay particular attention to Sunday, as it is a classic example of what we term a ridge breakdown pattern. As the trough begins to push in, we'll cool off several degrees on Sunday, but it will still remain quite warm and just as dry as prior days. And most importantly, there will be a significant increase in winds through the day on Sunday. Southwest to west winds of 20 to 30 miles per hour with gusts to 50 miles per hour will develop by afternoon and evening across the wind-prone mountain ridges and desert passes, and all areas will see some degree of increase in westerly flow. As a result, the potential for fire spread will be significantly heightened on Sunday, especially across the grass-dominated landscapes of Central California, where less rain has fallen in the past 7 days. The hot, dry, windy index is forecast to reach or exceed the 90th percentile in some areas, so that will definitely be a day to pay attention to. But again, by early next week, we'll be back to a drearier pattern. Significant cooling is likely on Monday and continuing into Tuesday, with highs dropping all the way back into the 60s and 70s in most areas, and a deep marine layer with widespread cloudiness redeveloping. And some shower activity is likely around Monday and Tuesday, especially across the Sierra, but even possibly over the Southern California foothills and mountains. We're not expecting any heavy rainfall. That would be practically unheard of this time of year as we head into our typical driest time of year, but some showers are likely, up to around half an inch of rain and maybe a little more for the Central Sierra. Overall, it will likely be a gray and dreary week, with a stubborn troughing pattern remaining in place and unsettled conditions likely continuing through most, if not all, of next week. Here's a look at our 100-hour dead fuel moisture graph for the South Ops area as a whole. Broadly speaking, we've been running unseasonably wet for a good few weeks now, but we will see a sharp downward trend in 100-hour and finer dead fuel moistures in the coming days, though that may reverse sharply again next week. And in terms of flammability and fire potential, we're really just talking strictly about the grasses at this stage in the game. Regional data shows that live fuel moistures are generally near to above normal, with peaks occurring later than normal this year due to our wet spring weather that we've had. We will need at least several weeks of warm and dry weather to begin seeing increased flammability in most species, so a delayed start to fire season is becoming more likely in some areas, especially with more moisture events potentially on the horizon. But in the meantime, over Central California, large fire potential will be on an upward trend the next few days in areas where grasses have already cured. Fire spread potential will peak on Sunday as winds increase, then lower potential is expected next week. Rapid rates of spread will be possible with any wind-aligned grass fire starts on Sunday. Again, that's going to be the highest risk day for this stretch. However, most of Southern California will continue to see little risk for significant fire due to the recent moisture and with grasses remaining uncured in many areas, though some increased initial attack is still likely this weekend before the cooler weather. That's it for today's webcast. Thanks for joining us. The next one will be on Friday, May 9th.